Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd like to associate this side of the House with the comments made about Lord Prescott's death. And I'm also delighted to hear that the House administration is aiming to win the Autistic Society's Autism Friendly Award. I know all colleagues will want to join me in wishing the House team good luck with that. Madam Deputy Speaker, in last week's episode of this long-running saga, I drew attention to the government's incompetence in having a budget which managed to raise the rate of national insurance, lower the NI threshold and increase the minimum wage all at the same time. I described this as a terrible blow to the retail and hospitality sectors and asked if the Treasury would publish an assessment of the total effect of these measures before they came to the House. Well, I need hardly have bothered, Madam Deputy Speaker, because barely 5 days later, what did we find? A letter from Tesco, Marks & Spencer, Sainsbury's, all the major supermarkets and many of the biggest names in the retail industry highlighting the budget's impact in forcing shop closures and job losses. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, the sad truth is there is nothing surprising here. It was completely obvious to everyone except the government that this unplanned triple whammy was likely to have this effect. So I asked the Leader again, will we see an analysis of its effects when the Finance Bill comes to the House next week or alongside the forthcoming National Insurance Contributions Bill? Otherwise, I think we should turn our attention to energy. The government's proclaimed its intention to make Britain a 100% clean energy producer by 2030. A couple of weeks ago, NESO, the new energy systems operator, published a report on how this might be done. But I must say, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm feeling a degree of embarrassment. I'd been under the impression that the Secretary of State for Energy was a slightly clownish figure, unable to eat a bacon sandwich without causing an international incident, with a political style closely modelled on that of Wallace and Gromit. Actually, Madam Deputy Speaker, I was quite wrong. In fact, like the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Secretary of State may need to update his CV. I now realise that he's in fact a heroic figure, the Titan of transition. In fact, I would go further. The Energy Secretary is a modern Clark Kent, whose slightly bumbling comedic exterior is merely a disguise concealing a range of astonishing superpowers. Think of what he will have to achieve if the UK is, as he promises, to have entirely carbon-free energy in just over 5 years' time. He'll have to build twice as many pylons and cables in that 5 years as we've built in the last 10. He'll have to get all this transmission infrastructure built on time and according to the reshape the planning rules, or the taxpayer will be forced to pay for wind turbines that stand idle. Like the Greek god Aeolus, this great baron of breeze will need to make sure the winds blow and contract as much offshore wind capacity in the next 2 years as in the last 6 combined. And he'll need to make sure the global price of carbon doubles or triples just to make the sums add up. And this is before one considers the effects of unexpected inflation, skills shortages, dependency on foreign energy technologies, intermittency of supply. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, his plans for small modular reactors have been delayed while the Energy Secretary plunges ahead with his plans to cut off gas turbines and leave us dangerously reliant on expensive foreign energy imports. Madam Deputy Speaker, these plans are not simply heroic, they are fanciful, they are magical thinking. And what is worse, they are likely to be ruinously expensive both for the taxpayer and the electricity user. Little wonder that top business and union leaders have come together to describe them as, I quote, just not feasible and, quote, impossible. We've been here before in the 3-day week of the 1970s, Madam Deputy Speaker, and the result was blackouts and energy rationing. Is that what we should expect now? Again, this is the rub. Power reveals. What we are seeing is not merely a lack of competence. We are seeing an Energy Secretary who has still not made any statement on the NESO report that I quoted from. He is deliberately refusing to account for his actions to this House on this absolutely foundational matter, and he is holding the Commons in contempt. So I ask the Leader of the House, when can we expect a statement from the Energy Secretary on the NESO report? When will he be forced to come to the dispatch box to explain and defend this folly?